Hello, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's session of National Graduate Week. We're delighted to welcome you and thank you for joining us for the Oxford Biomedica's National Graduate Week session, Pioneering Healthcare, Cell and Gene Therapy, looking at graduate opportunities. I'm Sharon Walpole from CareerMap, and I'll be hosting this session today. Before we begin, just a bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded, so if for any reason you need to leave, you'll be able to find it in about a week or so on the CareerMap's National Graduate Week website. I'll drop that into the chat, but it's nationalgraduateweek.co.uk. You'll also notice on the right that there is a chat box. Feel free, we absolutely encourage you, to drop in any questions that you have. We will answer a couple in the chat, but rest assured, if we don't get to you, I'll be collecting them up, and following the presentation, we'll ask the panel to answer all the questions that you have. That's all there is from me at this point. I think we have it under control. I'm going to hand over to Neelam Hassan Ali, and she will make the introductions to the rest of the team, and then I will move to the presentation and see you later.
Great, thanks very much, Sharon, and hi everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar today. So I'm joined by my colleagues, Dr. Carol Knevelman, who's based at Oxford Biomedica, Professor Catherine Green, who is based at the University of Oxford, and then Dr. Stephanie Frank, who is based at UCL. And together, we're going to tell you about our program, the ABViP CTP. Just checking, Sharon, with the slides. And as Sharon mentioned, please feel free to drop questions throughout and we'll get to them at the end. So today we're going to tell you a bit about the ABViP CTP. We're going to provide you with an overview of Oxford Biomedica. We're going to tell you a bit about studying at UCL, studying at University of Oxford, and the benefits and the student cohort experience of our CTP, and then the application and where we are in that process. So CTP, so that stands for Collaborative Training Program. So this is supported by BBSRC, which is a research council. In 2021, they funded 10 of these, and they're led by industry. So here, Oxford Biomedica, and they're partnered with academia, University of Oxford and UCL. And within the program, we have 15 to 35 students, and within our CTP, we have 24. So just to give you an overview, so like I said, CTP stands for Collaborative Training Partnership. The ABViP acronym stands for Advanced Bioscience of Viral Products. We have the BBSRC, so the Biotechnology and Biology Research Council. We have Oxford Biomedica, and then we have University of Oxford and UCL. And it's a 7-year program, so altogether we'll have 24 studentships, and we're now recruiting for our final intake in 2024, which is what we're here to talk to you about. It's a 4-year fully funded PhD or DPhil program, and the aim of this is to address the fundamental and applied bioscience challenges associated with viral vectors for future gene therapies. So this is a schematic. So we have 16 students on program already, and we're here to kind of recruit and find applicants for our final year starting in September, October 2024. And what are the benefits of a collaborative training partnership? So the idea is to create a research hub and increase the breadth and collaboration between biotechnology and academia. It's a cross-functional experience. So you have students from both institutions going to each other's institutions for training. You have access to a broader selection of academics, industry partners, and supervisors. You get a placement at the industry, Oxford Biomedica. The focus is on training of scientists of the future. There's a cohort of students, and we have training and symposiums throughout the year to kind of get all the students together and see how the science is progressing. So this is just an idea of the board. So we have Carol, Kath, and Steffi here with you today. This shows that we've got James Miskin, who's the CTV director. We've got Kiri Mitrofanos, who's our Chief Scientific Officer. We have members from UCL and Oxford who also contribute to the running of this program. This just shows you the breadth of the science and areas that the CTP covers. So we have viral vector vaccine design and engineering, data science, AI, machine learning, and to generate a new understanding of how viral vectors perform. We've got analytical characterization and the accelerated bioprocessing. And together, between all these partners, we bring their expertise to allow for the research and the projects to support your project and your development. So a little bit of an overview of Oxford Biomedica. Oxford Biomedica was founded in 1996 and is a spin out from the University of Oxford. The headquarters are in UK, in Oxfordshire. We also have Oxford Biomedica Bedford, which is based in Boston, where we've kind of broadened out our capabilities to include AAV. We have a mission to deliver life-changing science therapies and to patients. We have lentiviral vector as our platform, and now we're becoming more and more towards broadening out to adeno and AAV. We have a few firsts. We were the first to administer lentiviral vector gene therapy in vivo to both the brain and the eye. We were the first commercial supplier of lentiviral vectors for CAR-T approval for Novartis and Chimera. We have a strong reputation at leading the company in gene and cell therapy. This is just to give you an oversight of the different locations that we have over at Oxford. So we've got our research and analytics here in Oxford, and we've also got bioprocessing facilities, and we have our corporate functions. And this is just to show you and illustrate the different types of innovation that we have at OXB. So we have this on the right-hand side. This kind of is our capabilities where we develop viral vectors to allow optimal gene expression for our clients. We have scale. So we do innovation in our bioreactors to support and improve yield and quality. And then we have our analytics, the AI and the machine learning, where we use proteomics and transcriptomics to support and have a better understanding of vector production, where we can increase the components that boost our quality and the yield. And again, this is just to kind of show that we're becoming OXBs and vector agnostic with lenti, adeno, and AAV capabilities. We have fill finish capabilities, and we use our innovation to support our clients in terms of process innovation to improve yield and quality of viral vectors. And now I'll hand over to Steffi from UCL.
Thank you very much, Neelam. My name is Dr. Stephanie Frank. I'm an associate professor in bioengineering at UCL in the Department of Biochemical Engineering. And I'm going to explain a little bit about UCL, and also I will tell you a little bit about our department and how students work with us in the department. Okay, so you can see the main building in the court of UCL. I'm just going to give you a little bit of history. UCL was founded in 1826 as one of the main universities in the UK, alongside Oxford and Cambridge. The architect of this main building that you've just seen, interesting, also was the architect of the National Gallery that you know is in the Trafalgar Square. Just a bit of history for you. We were first to admit women on equal terms as men, and to admit students regardless of class, race, and religion. And since the foundation of UCL, there has been a large number of Nobel Prize winners that have been at UCL, so alumni really. Okay, so on the right-hand side, you see the Department of Biochemical Engineering. This is where I and my colleagues are based, and the students that do their projects, some of the students that do their projects at UCL. We have projects advertised that are also led by supervisors that are based in other departments, but I'm mainly talking to you about biochemical engineering today. So biochemical engineering was founded in 1991. It came out of chemical engineering. It was the first biochemical engineering in the department in the UK, so dedicated to discovery and research in this area and also to teaching. And we are a world-leading department now. So we've got about 25 academic members of staff in our department, around 250 undergraduate students. So it's not a large number, but we do have quite a substantial number of doctorate students. So the cohorts that start together each year are around, let's say, 30 or so PhD and engineering doctorate students. So our ABViP students do have the opportunities to make friends with, all the other PhD and NGD students and, build their cohort. Obviously, they have their ABViP cohort, but they also have all the other students in the department. We do have a number of masters in research students, MSc students, and around 35 or so postdoctoral researchers. Something that is quite unique to our department is that we are also quite substantially funded by industry partners in terms of our PhD or NGD projects. So we've got a large number of industry collaborations. Many of them are fostered through our research hubs. For instance, the Future Biomanufacturing Research Hub, which is really focused on future biotherapeutics. The vaccine hub that you might have heard about, that is co-led between UCL and the University of Oxford. And we've now started we're just about to start the second Vax Hub, which is largely focusing on vaccine development and the sustainability aspects of this. And we also hold 2 centers of excellence that also have a number of PhD projects associated. One is with AstraZeneca and one is with Cytiva. And a number of companies have come out of the department. So what kind of research do we do? We've really addressed challenges that are faced by a bioprocessing industry or the bioprocess using industry. And we work across 3 main domains: industrial biotechnology, biopharmaceuticals, and cell and gene therapy. And here our techniques and tools we are developing and our expertise across the department are across several different areas. So for instance, some colleagues develop high throughput bioprocessing technologies. They design scale up and scale down technologies and automation. My interest and expertise is in synthetic biology and engineering biology. So proteins, viral vectors, cell engineering. Some of my colleagues work on process analytics. So how do you analyze your products and your processes, and data analytics? And some colleagues work on decision tools, life cycle analysis, and other modeling and AI tools. So we really integrate discovery and engineering. You can see that on the left side here. We work really from the discovery, from the synbio aspect, molecular biology, molecular design and modeling, all the way down to how to make your product. So upstream, downstream, and processing and purification of your product. And as I said, we work very closely on real problems that are faced by industry. So really what I should have said it probably earlier, but biochemical engineers really apply principles of biology, chemistry, engineering, computer science, maths, to make products such as biopharmaceuticals, biofuels, biopolymers, enzymes. For instance, some of my colleagues work on making plastic degradation enzymes for more sustainable degradation of plastics. So really, I should also mention that our PhD students also get the opportunity to do some teaching, and our research does inform our teaching too. So our students are involved in, for instance, helping out with practicals, also supplying some of, teaching material, and our students are integrated into some of the research that we do. And I did say a little bit about this earlier. We work on biopharmaceutical manufacturing, such as vaccines, antibiotics, immunotherapies, but also regenerative medicines and cell and gene therapy, and then some bio-based alternatives to petrochemicals. And I mentioned the kind of sustainability aspect and interest of our work as well. So I'm going to pass on now to Kath, my colleague, to tell you about Oxford. Thank you.
Hello. Great. So my name's Catherine Green. I'm an associate professor at the University of Oxford in the Nuffield Department of Medicine, where I head the clinical biomanufacturing facility. We manufacture vaccines and other biotherapeutics for early phase clinical trials in humans. But I also have other roles across the division and the department involved with training of graduate programs. And I run a research team in molecular genetics. So next. So I just thought I'd tell you a bit about the Oxford setup and how we support this ABViP training program in association, as you've heard, with Oxford Biomedica and UCL. So Oxford graduate students are spread across for this program are spread across the medical sciences division. So the projects that we run in Oxford through the ABViP program are not necessarily housed in a single department, but can be in any one of the departments that makes up the medical sciences division. So that includes the Department of Medicine, but it also includes other departments related to biomedical sciences, including biochemistry and oncology. So the students have a variety of positions within that, and therefore are housed at a variety of locations because these departments are spread throughout the city of Oxford, some on hospital campuses and some on the main university campuses in the centre of the city. So each student is working within their research team, which is then within their department. But then in addition to that, they of course have this ABViP association and affiliation as part of the ABViP cohort. So we think that within Oxford you get the best of both worlds. You get to be associated with a research team embedded in a research department, but also of course have this cohort extra curricular activities associated with ABViP, and of course these close connections to UCL, which is a really fantastic opportunity to have these dual affiliations while you're doing your PhD. So I've remembered to push on the screen on my computer. So the graduate students that come as part of the ABViP program become part of our doctoral training centre, and that's how we bring together students from these diverse kinds of graduate programs to give everybody a world-leading training experience. So in our doctoral training centre, we have students who are funded by a really, really wide variety of routes, much like at UCL. So we have students that are funded via CTP programs such as ABViP, but also directly funded by the research councils, or by other charities that fund PhD students across the UK, and by international programs that also fund PhD students. And that means that we can support training programs across a wide variety of biomedical science programs, sometimes looking at very fundamental biological processes that underpin our understanding of biomedicine, right up to more engineering-based approaches for delivering therapeutics and treatments into the real world, all tightly associated with a route through to translational medicine. We always want eventually to get the innovations that are made at the university by our fantastic students to translate into products that have real meaningful therapeutic beneficial health benefits in the medium term. So one of the unique things about coming to study at Oxford, if you choose a project within the ABViP program, which is held at Oxford, is that as well as having the university in Oxford, all of our students, whether they be undergraduate or postgraduate students, also become part of a college. So Oxford University is formed of more than 30 individual colleges, and they are in fact the admitting institution. So every student becomes a member of a college as well as a member of a department. So colleges are almost like halls of residence in some way, in that they manage your accommodation, but they also give you additional pastoral care, one-on-one teaching where necessary, and they have sports clubs and various other things that you might want in your social life. So the joy of an Oxford college is you're not therefore limited in making friends and influeing people just from your department, so your specialist subject of training and expertise, but colleges are multidisciplinary, multi-department halls, so you might be sitting at lunch with a student of modern medieval languages, or of a student of economics, or somebody who studies archaeology in Iceland. You never know who you're sat next to, and that can be a great joy. So as part of the application process, if you decide to apply for an ABViP program which is housed at Oxford, you can either choose a college, so you can come to Oxford and have a walk around, see if there's one whose vibe takes your fancy, or we can support you with trying to find a college that will be good for the program, or you can just get allocated a college through the application process. So the fact that colleges is a unique thing to Oxford isn't something you have to worry about. Those of us on the applications team can help sort that out for you, the complexities of college as well as university life. But it is a bit of an anachronism within the Oxford University system, same as at Cambridge, but we think it's a great strength of our facility, and we can help you make that choice if that's what you decide that you want to do. So as well as the training, so obviously as part of your DPhil, the most important thing is to work on your DPhil project. And so we have DPhil projects, which Neelam will talk about in a couple of minutes to present, which are the DPhil projects which are on offer of the 8 for Oxford for UCL that we will be advertising this year. And that obviously is the main aim of your PhD time, is to get that project done and discover some new and fascinating, interesting bioscience underpinning viral vectors that we hope will be of use in clinical applications in the future. But there's also a lot of training that we will support you with. Now, some of that, as Neelam alluded to, is directly related to the ABViP course, so specific training related to viral products and their manufacture and their use. But there's also a lot of wider training which is provided by the Doctoral Training Centre, by the Medical Sciences Division across Oxford, and UCL also provide these intramural large-scale programmes of training that can complement the bespoke training that you will get within your team, and then the broader training that we'll give as part of the ABViP program. So we have a wide variety of training courses for our graduate students run by Medical Sciences skills, anything from presentation to writing grants, to writing papers, to being able to manage your supervisor, to entrepreneurship and how to do bioscience in the 21st century. In 21st century world. So our intention at the end of this program, whether you're at UCL or at Oxford, is to set you up for a career in biosciences, whether that's in academia, in industry, or in a combination of the two. So just touch a little bit on the training there, and I'll just move quickly on to what training will be provided as part of the ABViP training. So as I said, you will get bespoke training that you need to do your PhD project within your research team as part of your PhD. So the research group that you're in will teach you how to do the things that you need to do in order to be successful in your DPhil. But graduate training these days is much more than that. It's much bigger than that. And the joy of us having a cohort of 24 students supported by the Oxford Biomedica ABViP program is that we can bring all of you together, either the 8 of you in your year or the 24 of you across the 3 cohorts, in order to do some really innovative things around training specifically for the biosciences sector and specifically for viral vector delivery. So we will do things as a cohort, things led by Oxford Biomedica, things led by UCL, and things at Oxford where we bring you all together. Our intention is not only that you do great science and you discover great things, because that's what a PhD should all be about, innovation and understanding the world that we live in, but also you'll have an opportunity to outreach, so to do some outward-facing, public-facing descriptions of science, to come together as a team to start to build the network that will stand you in good stead for becoming a bioscientist in the 21st century, because you're going to need all the friends you can get to make you as employable as possible as you go out into the world of biotech and bioengineering. So Each student will have a supervisor within their research team that will be primarily responsible for making sure that the DPhil program is delivered and that you get your PhD at the end of it. And both Oxford and UCL ensure you have also a second supervisor as a backup or somebody to go to if the primary supervisor relationship is challenging. And everybody will also get an industrial supervisor at Oxford Biomedica. So that obviously gives you great insight into how industrial bioscience works, and Oxford Biomedica team are a really great resource for the students on this program. We will also make sure that you have mentors or other support in terms of providing a really broad range of scientists who can assist you as you go through this program, and of course oversight by the board and eventually by the BBSRC, who also provide funding for this program. We're going to really try to ensure that we recruit from a really wide range of people. So we don't require that you come straight out of university or straight out of a master's. If you've spent some time in industry and now want to come back and do a DPhil, this program can also be for you. We are absolutely committed to equality, diversity and inclusion. So if you have any specific queries, Neelam or the email address is ABViP@Oxford Biomedica. If there's anything we can help with your application, we will be happy to do so. We think this is a great, unique program to get experience at the interface between academia and industry. And we hope that the people that come out from our program have really been given the highest possible caliber of training to make a bespoke training program that really makes them the best scientists that they can be at the end of their 4 years with us. And I think at this point I hand back to Neelam. Is that correct, Neelam? I think I've probably said all that.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the application process. So as Kath and Steph mentioned, there are 8 projects that are open to application, 4 at University of Oxford and 4 at UCL. I won't read them all to you, but they're listed here, and we'll follow up with Career Map where you'll be able to have access to these titles. This is just a few bits of information in terms of application requirements. So you need a minimum of a 2-1 in a relevant discipline or an overseas qualification or an equivalent standard. Just so you know, the home status fee, so this is what's considered as UK national settled status, pre-settled status, but this will be assessed by each of the academic institutions. There's only eligibility for 1 overseas student per academic institution. And you will require CV, personal statement, and 2 letters of recommendation as part of the application. And you're able to apply to 3 projects of the 8, and they can be cross-institution. So just to let you know, the PhD and DPhils will be awarded by the academic institution that you're registered at. All projects are open to application, and the deadline is Friday the 1st of December. These are the links to where the applications are, and they also contain information about the projects, the primary supervisors if you'd like to contact them, and any other guidelines required by the universities for you to apply. And as I mentioned, we'll follow up with Career Map to get those links out to you. We also have 1 additional webinar on Thursday the 9th of November that I wanted to signpost you to. This is where we'll have an overview of each of the 8 projects. So we'll have 2 to 3 minutes describing each of the projects that are open to application, and provide you with any additional information in terms of guidance around applying. And this is a registration link which Career Map will be able to provide you with too. And that's everything from us. So thank you for listening.
We can start to tackle some of these questions, I guess.
Yeah, we've had quite a few and quite hefty ones. So I'll be looking for you to get through some of the answers for us. I have grouped them together in sort of similar themes, but they seem to be quite disparate to me. I thought we'd start with the sort of application questions and then get down to some more of the details. Charlotte asked, how are applicants notified about the outcome of their applications, and what is the timeline for this process?
So I can take that one
Yeah.
if you want.
Yeah.
So both Oxford and UCL run the applications separately. So if you're applying for a project at Oxford, you do it via the Oxford system, which is all of the details are on the Oxford University website. And if you apply to UCL, you do it via the UCL system. So the application will be, as Neelam said, send in your CV, normally an application form, so a form which is available to download. And then we as a committee get together, we assess all of the applications and we shortlist candidates for interview. We will be interviewing specific candidates for those specific projects. So you're applying for a specific project with a specific supervisor. So the application interview will be some members of the board, both Oxford and UCL and Oxford Biomedica represented, but also the supervisor for that specific project. And those interviews take place in January or early February, and then we notify the applicants of their acceptance on that, within a couple of weeks of the interviews being taken place. And that all happens via the applications, central application system at the universities concerned. So there's a university application system that sits on top of the ABViP system. We kind of embed ourselves within that. Steffi, do you have anything to add about the UCL system?
That's correct. So it's pretty much like you said, you need to apply through the UCL application system, and we will get those then into our specific system, and we look at the applicants, and then invitations will be made to those that ranked high, and they will be interviewed, and the rest of it you already explained, Kath. There will be a decision made around January, February time. Yeah.
Great. Amelia was asking, and this is possibly a personal question if any of you have done the course or can speak on behalf of someone who has, what do you think has been the most valuable aspect of the program in terms of academic and career development?
It's a tough one.
Well, so we're only getting started. So we've had 1 year of intake. That was the year that started in 2024, and our 2022, sorry. And our 2023 intake obviously only started now 4 weeks ago, so they're just getting started. But I would say that already it was June last year, Neelam, we had our first end of year symposium where our first 7 students came together, presented what they'd done in that first year and their plans for the future. And it was really, really inspiring to see the breadth of bioscience that this program is supporting and the directions that it might go. And also to see already the beginnings of really interdisciplinary collaborative projects coming out from that. So it was a bringing together of the students and their supervisors, and they're in the room. You could see in real time new ideas and new collaborations being made. And of course, as the program grows, we'll now have 16 this year and then 24 starting in 2024. That can only grow. So what I think we're hoping, and it is a hope still because this is still a relatively new program, is that those 24 people go on to really make a foundation from which a new network will build, and lots of innovation and exciting ideas can stem from that.
Super. Does anybody else want to add to that, or shall I move along?
No, I was just going to say that would have been mine as well. So well picked.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? It was a really good session.
It was a really great session, and to see all the students collaborating together, coming up with ideas based on what others were doing, that was amazing. Definitely. Yeah.
Great. Still on the sort of a little bit of a personal side, Lucas asked, what advice would you have for new students who are looking to start at the ABViP program to make the most of their experience?
Well, I mean, it's just that, isn't it? Steffi, do you want to say something to that one?
Yeah, I would say, I think it's quite important that we just talked about cohort building, right? I think one of the key aspects is to really try to make the most of that opportunity of cohort building and really tap into all these brilliant minds that are coming together when we have those kind of, end of year meetings, or you have cohort meetings where you come together with the years above, the first years and the second years and now the third cohort, like to really learn from those experiences, but also from the interdisciplinary kind of community that you have access to. And I think that's quite special. And then in terms of, and I'm sure it's quite similar for Oxford, but in terms of UCL, I mentioned this earlier, you do have access to, well, there's going to be all these other students as well, other PhD students working on various different projects that come from other, funded initiatives. So really trying to collaborate if you can, but really, talk to people, make use of networks. And I think that's the strength. And that's a really great thing to have, not, working in isolation on your own little project, but really look across what are others doing, what are their projects, what are potential alignments and, future ideas. Maybe you come up with, little side projects of someone.
And Oxford Biomedical are your secret weapon here, yeah? So most DPhil programs, you're just doing a PhD in a research lab in a university. And the joy of this program, which is heavily supported financially, but also intellectually by Oxford Biomedical and the team, is you will get insight into the real world of industry bioscience. Oxford Biomedical are absolutely a UK leader and a world leader in this field. And so the insight that you can get from having a PhD that's embedded in industry as well as in academia, I think can be game changing.
We just had David G, who I got another question from you, David, but this one you've just put in the chat kind of follows on nicely, asking about advice for interviews. What are you looking for? And are there any common mistakes that could be avoided? Bit of insider information here.
It's a very good question. So we obviously see a lot of students for interview. All of us sit on multiple interview panels for multiple DPhil programs across the world. So, I mean, I could write a book on things that we're looking for at interview. What I think the most important thing is some passion and some spark. Why are you wanting to do this particular DPhil out of all of the other DPhils that you could be applying for? What is it that makes you the person that we should hire? And that's down to spark and enthusiasm, not just about, the CV that you've got on paper, though, of course, that is important. We are going to be looking for somebody on CV who has strong academic credentials or who has significant amounts of industry experience, because these are highly competitive DPhil programs because they are funded. So you have to be realistic. We're looking for some brains, but also some spark. And I think the more of the spark that you can show us at interview, the more likely you are to succeed.
I think we're getting some more interview questions in because you've started sparking some ideas. We'll take one more and then we'll move on to another topic. But Yasmin asked, does the interview include any practical or problem-solving components to evaluate your skills?
No, we have not. We don't put them in yet at Oxford. We will ask you to do a presentation on a recent research project that you have done, whether that's within your university, undergraduate or master's, or something you've done within your industry career. So we will be looking to see you talk about science, and then we will ask you questions around the field and questions around the why and questions around your motivation. We haven't yet thought to put problem-solving components in. Maybe that's
Yasmin,
you
have an idea.
Stephanie, what about UCL?
I think it's quite similar to Oxford, Kev. So we normally start with a short presentation, so the student gives some information about their previous experience related to this project or to this area, and then we have a number of questions around transferable skills and other things. Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe some supervisors have some theoretical problem-solving questions, but I'm not necessarily aware of them, and they wouldn't take up a lot of time. They would probably just be embedded in the interview.
We often send out a research paper as part of the interview process. So we would ask you to read a scientific paper in advance, and we may have some discussion around your understanding of that research paper and your views on the validity of certain experiments or your, what you might choose to do next. So we'll talk about your own experience, some scientific background, and how you would think about your future career.
Great. Well, as I said, David had another question, and it's sort of in the same camp as Jackson. So I'll ask both the questions, but you'll see they're related. Jackson said, can you provide more details on the structure of the program, or do you have a link? So I do think if you do have a link, this might be a good time to put in the chat, but we certainly will send stuff out. And David asked, can you give more information on the career development plan that was shown on the overview of the training activities?
Neelam, I reckon.
Yeah, so the structure of the program, so it's a 4-year PhD DPhil. where you will be predominantly based at your academic institute, so either UCL or London, Oxford. And within that time, you will have training, you will have some cross-institutional training in your first year. And depending on where you're based at UCL or Oxford, they have particular training within their unit. So for example, at UCL in the biochemical engineering department, there's research skills throughout the first year. There is other kind of training that they do as part of their biochemical engineering training. And then there's the ABViP training on top. Depending on the structure of your project and what your project is looking at, you will then have a placement at OXB at any point during those 4 years, and that really is project dependent, and that's a discussion between your academic supervisors and your Oxford Biomedica supervisors. There are a few, there's a transfer of status at Oxford that you would need to complete at the end of your first year, beginning of your second year, and similarly in UCL there's a transfer of viva that you would also need to complete, which involves writing a short report about what you have completed in your first year, and then at both institutes you will undertake a viva, and that enables you to kind of transfer to this PhD default status, and that kind of just has like, it's a check-in really to kind of check that everything is moving forward, and then at Oxford there's also something called the confirmation of status that we will undergo at in your third year. But overall it's a 4-year program, and there's a real collaboration between the Oxford Biomedica supervisors and your academic supervisors to determine where you would do and when you would do your placement as part of the program.
That actually leads nicely onto Timothy's question, who asked if there were opportunities for international collaboration on the program.
I mean, this is going to depend very much on the individual research project that you're doing, because many of the research laboratories which we are hosting students in will have international collaborators and partners which work with them, both at UCL and at Oxford. So if you go to a lab that has a strong tie-in with another lab, then of course that's always possible. The one key thing is that these will be obviously embedded within Oxford Biomedica. So one key placement will be the Oxford Biomedica placement, which by default is at Oxford Biomedica. Now, whether there's scope to open that up, I don't know, Carol, whether you know whether there's scope to open that up to other Oxford Biomedica international sites going forward.
Potentially, definitely. So if there's a program that has a much better skill set, or within any of the Oxford Biomedica sites, there are opportunities to open it up that way, definitely.
Great. We've got some quite specific questions now, and I'm just going to read them so you can answer. Ava asks, what type of analytics and data science methodologies will be taught to the students, and how do they contribute to the research?
I would say it's very project dependent to how and what type of methodologies you learn, and I think that is something at the start of your program you will kind of sit with your supervisors and kind of discuss the kind of skills that you need, both laboratory or computational, to kind of get through your PhD program and pick up the skills that you need to complete your research. I mean, Kath or Steph, you might be able to speak about specifically, but overall from a broader perspective it is very project dependent in terms of the skills that you would pick up and learn over the course of your PhD.
Yeah, I would agree with that, absolutely. So just to point out, at UCL specifically, we've got some training courses that are around kind of design of experiment, or some other technique, or some other analytical methodologies, and you can take them as optional modules. So it depends, like you said, Neelam, what kind of project you have. You don't need to be trained in every possible analytical methodology. You would pick those kind of training courses depending as in what you need in terms of your own kind of skill development and understanding of this methodology. I don't know about you, Kath.
Yeah, that's right. So the aim here is to make a bespoke training program that's suitable for each individual student and ties into each individual project. So if you're doing a project that needs to do a lot of transcriptomic analysis because you're interested in the effect of a particular viral vector on the host cell, then they will be making sure that we've got our coding is good enough and you can handle the bioinformatics tools that are suitable for do the analytics you need for that approach. But if you're really interested in mass spectrometry of specific adenoviral vector vaccines, then we'll make sure that you've had training in doing mass spec analysis or, you know, NGS or whatever the analytics that you need for your specific project. That's the joy of working with these two world-leading institutions at UCL and Oxford. I mean, we have the availability of the experts to teach you what you need to know in order to progress your project.
Brilliant. Noah asks, how does the ABViP program stay up to date with the latest advancements and trends in bioscience and biotechnology?
I would say, well, we are the up-to-date.
I was going to say, sounds to me like you are.
I think that's right. I think within these three institutions, Oxford Biomedica, UCL and Oxford, you have three world-leading institutions that are driving the field. So it's not us keeping up to date. Everybody else has to keep up with us. That's just my sales pitch. Carol, your view?
No, I totally agree. And if you look at the slides, or if you go back and look at the slides that Neelam shared within Oxford Biomedica itself, because we work with clients, we are constantly seeing the issues that the clients are coming up with us to us about. And so we're having to stay ahead of the curve, essentially, to try and address those issues. And working with Oxford and UCL, who are leaders in the field, it just means that, as Kat said, other people have to stay up with us, definitely.
Great. Well, we've got one last question. Oh, how does program support transition from the academia to the job market? That's a nice little transition because that Timothy's just put in the chat. And then following on from that, they're looking for a question about looking forward to 2025. So Timothy asked, how does a program support students in making the transition from academia to the job market? Which I have to say with Career Map is something that is for all ages and all qualifications, really a more difficult, I think, question, because the world of talent is really changing rapidly, and the approach to taking on talent is changing. But I'll leave that to you to answer.
I reckon Carol can start this one, as she is our industry lead here.
Yes, of course. I think that one thing to note as well is that because this program is linked with Oxford Biomedica, you're gaining quite a lot of skills that you wouldn't typically get if you were working in academia alone. And so what we find is that, and not specifically for this program, but people who have CTPs that are in collaboration with industry get to gain a lot of practical skills that make them so valuable once they finish to go into industry. But the support is there in knowing, or having the network, should I say, of industry within this program. It means that when you finish, we can support you through mentorship, through having our own networks and knowing what your needs are for industry, where you want to progress, how you want to progress your career. We can use our networks to support you, so can Oxford and UCL, and also having that cohort experience that we are asking you to make good use of. By the time that you finish, some of the people in your cohort would have already gone into industry. You can use that network as well to broaden. But we will be having programs within Oxford Biomedica that help you to prepare you for going into industry, and that's what our part of this program is, giving you the practical skills to allow you to fit better into industry. I've been waffling a bit, but I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Super. Right, so looking forward then, and maybe this is a step too far, I shouldn't have thought so, but what are there any plans for an intake in 2025?
We haven't thought that far yet. Currently, we don't have funding for 2025, but we will wait and see what the BBSRC funding schemes are looking like for training programs post this intake. But all of our energies are going to be focused on the 24 students that we get and getting them to the best place that they need to be.
Great. Well, we are actually have a couple minutes to spare. We'll take this one last question that came in from Yasmin. And then we'll look to wrap up. So Yasmin asked, are there opportunities for students to engage in outreach activities, for example, at schools and communities, which I think is a great question. And I would also throw in there volunteering as options too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Steffi, UCL are brilliant at this, yeah?
Yeah, so obviously, both UCL and Oxford are quite active in this area. So we've just actually we had a prize awarded from the engineering faculty for our departmental efforts, which is led by the VAX Hub, but we broadly support many different outreach activities. So we go into schools to teach about biomanufacturing of vaccines, but also other molecules. I mean, not specifically about AVs, but, more broadly, how, the next generation of researchers like yourselves or, those pupils from schools can get involved in making an impact and making a change and what's needed in the job market and so on. So we do a lot of outreach activities as part of that. We also go to career fairs. We go on the weekend, our team's been out to talk to specifically girls and their families, and they were showing, they had a practical exercise of showing how we purify molecules with some kind of, hands-on demonstration. We also have an iGEM team at UCL, so I'm actually the lead for iGEM at UCL, and our PhD students often get involved in helping with the iGEM is, I should say, is a synthetic biology initiative where we have a team of undergrad students doing a project over the summer, and they are very active in outreach activities as well. So yeah, we do work with lots of schools and with fairs, career fairs, and really getting also underrepresented groups into STEM and really supporting this effort. Don't know, Kath, if you want to add.
We've done, yeah, I mean, it's like UCL really lead the way in this, particularly with school outreach and community college outreach, really teaching some of the fundamentals of bioscience and bioengineering to schools that wouldn't otherwise be able to offer that, because it's quite specialist, and school teachers obviously don't always know some of the advanced kind of things that we do in our sector. But we also have some fun with it. We at Oxford often have a crew of people that go out to music festivals and run a Know Your DNA session. We did Blue Dot, we did Glastonbury. We do outreach in all kinds of places, in shopping centres and in hospital foyers. So there are lots of opportunities to get involved in either the bespokeness of specialist bioprocess engineering and viral vectors and gene therapy, and the complexities around that in today's world, or some of the more just science is cool stuff. Whichever is the thing that floats your boat, we can normally find an outreach activity for you.
Yeah, just to add that Oxford Biomedica also does quite a lot of that, so there's opportunities to be able to join that, definitely.
Fantastic. Right. Well, I see that we're at the end of our session. I put a note in the top of the chat to say that this session has been recorded, and you will be able to watch it again on demand on CareerMap's National Graduate Week website. So if you keep an eye on the tab that says events and resources, you'll find it there. Or you can also look on CareerMap TV on YouTube. If you just Google us, you'll find us there. And there's a whole section on graduate recordings. As we said, we'll send information out to you following this event as well. If you have any questions, you can always get in touch with us at info@careermap.co.uk. I'd like to say thank you to all of our guests. I've really enjoyed this session. I'm not from the biomedical world, but I found it really interesting.
Available.
Nice, smiley, happy faces, which is great. Thank you very much for coming. So at the end of the session, it's goodbye from our team from Oxford Biomedica.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And it's goodbye from us at Career Map. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.